High above the clouds, where the world below shrinks to a patchwork of forgotten dreams, the airplane sliced through the sky like a silver arrow. Passengers lounged in their seats, some nursing steaming coffees that filled the cabin with a comforting aroma, others lost in the glow of their screens, scrolling through endless feeds of distraction. In the plush embrace of first class, a CEO in his late 40s, Gregory Miles, leaned back with a smug grin, his tailored suit screaming success. His laughter sliced through the hushed cabin like a knife, sharp and uninvited. "Figures they'd seat me next to a single dad," he sneered, his eyes raking over the man in his 30s beside him. Ethan Walker was juggling a colorful coloring book for his wide-eyed daughter, Lily, her tiny fingers gripping crayons like lifelines. "But hey, the closest you've ever been to flying is folding paper planes in your backyard, right?" Gregory chuckled, his voice dripping with condescension, as if Ethan's economy seat was a badge of failure. Ethan stayed silent, his jaw clenching like a coiled spring, his focus locked on Lily's innocent artwork, a rainbow-streaked unicorn that brought a faint smile to his weathered face. He wouldn't rise to the bait, he'd faced worse taunts in life. But fate has a way of flipping the script, doesn't it? Suddenly, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom, urgent and laced with barely concealed panic. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have an emergency. Is there any experienced fighter pilot on board? We need assistance immediately." The cabin froze, every head snapping up in disbelief. Whispers erupted like sparks in dry grass. A fighter pilot? On a commercial flight? Eyes darted around, searching for some unlikely hero. Then, slowly, deliberately, Ethan rose from his seat. The air thickened with tension, every breath held captive. Before we soar deeper into this heart-pounding tale of redemption and raw courage, hit that subscribe button on Midnight Tales for more gripping stories that twist the ordinary into the extraordinary. And drop a comment below, where are you tuning in from? Let's dive back in. The cabin plunged into dead silence, the kind that claws at your throat and makes your pulse thunder in your ears. Gregory's smug grin faltered, crumbling like a sandcastle under a wave, as Ethan handed Lily's crayon back to her with gentle hands. "Stay with the nice lady here, sweetheart," he whispered, his voice a soothing anchor in the storm. Lily clutched his sleeve, her big eyes shimmering with fear, like stars about to blink out. "Daddy, don't go." Ethan knelt down, his calloused fingers brushing her cheek, and planted a soft kiss on her forehead. "Daddy will be right back. I promise. You be brave for me, okay?" Her nod was tiny, but it carried the weight of unwavering trust. Gregory scoffed, his voice cracking like thin ice under pressure. "Wait, this guy can't even afford business class, and now he thinks he's Top Gun. Come on." Laughter bubbled from a few nearby seats, but it died quickly, awkward and hollow. Ethan didn't flinch. His steps toward the cockpit were steady, each one radiating a quiet authority that silenced the mockery like a thunderclap. Flight attendants hurried forward, their faces etched with desperate hope, eyes widening as if they'd spotted a miracle. One attendant leaned in, whispering urgently, "Sir, are you really?" Ethan met her gaze evenly, his voice calm as a still lake. "I flew F-16s for 12 years in the Air Force. Show me the cockpit." Gasps rippled through the rows like a shockwave, passengers exchanging stunned glances. Gregory's face drained of color, turning ashen as the truth slammed into him harder than any boardroom defeat. Moments ago, he dismissed Ethan as nothing more than a struggling single dad, a loser in life's race. Now, the revelation hit like brutal turbulence. This unassuming man wasn't ordinary, he was the lifeline they all desperately needed. As Ethan vanished behind the fortified cockpit door, the cabin exploded into anxious chatter. "God bless him," murmured an elderly woman, clutching her rosary. Another passenger bowed his head in silent prayer, lips moving fervently. Gregory shifted in his seat, discomfort twisting his features like a vice. His arrogance, once a shield, now crumbled under the crushing weight of his own ignorance. But this story isn't just about a hero stepping up, It's an electrifying reminder that the scars we mock in others might be the very badges of battles that save us all. With hundreds of lives dangling by a thread, the cockpit door sealed shut with a resounding click. Suddenly, the engine's steady roar transformed into an ominous drumbeat, a warning of the chaos unfolding. Inside, the captain, a middle-aged veteran with sweat beading on his furrowed brow like dew on a blade, whipped around. His co-pilot's hands trembled over the controls, knuckles white as bone. "We lost hydraulics on the starboard side," the captain stammered, his voice frayed at the edges. "Controls are stiff as hell, autopilot's fried. If we can't stabilize, we'll roll over and plummet like a stone." Ethan nodded, his expression unflinching, voice precise as a surgeon's scalpel. He eased into the jump seat, his hands moving with the instinctive grace of someone who danced with death in the skies. He wasn't guessing, this was muscle memory forged in fire. "All right, walk me through what you've tried so far." The captain rattled off procedures, panic rising like bile with each failed attempt listed. Ethan listened without a blink, his mind flashing back to blistering sorties over endless desert horizons, to moonless nights where a split-second error meant a folded flag delivered to a grieving family. He'd vowed to leave that life behind after his wife's passing, trading dogfights for diaper changes and bedtime stories. But here, in this pressurized tomb hurtling through the void, his past wasn't a burden, it was a blazing sword. "Okay," Ethan commanded, his tone slicing through the tension like a laser. "We need manual override. Kill the autopilot entirely. We'll feather the controls manually. I'll guide her down." The co-pilot hesitated, eyes wide with doubt. "But you're not cleared for this," Ethan's gaze locked on him, calm yet deadly as a locked-on missile. "You want cleared, or you want alive. Pick one." That shut down the debate. They complied, fingers flying across panels. Back in the cabin, fear spread like wildfire through dry timber. The plane jolted violently, a shudder that hurled cups crashing to the floor and ripped gasps from throats. Gregory gripped his armrests, knuckles blanching white, his smirk long vanished, replaced by raw terror. He kept stealing glances at Lily in row 8, clutching her stuffed rabbit like a talisman, her eyes wide but defiantly brave. A flight attendant knelt beside her, soothing her tiny, trembling hands. "Your dad's amazing," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "He's going to keep us all safe." Lily nodded, her childlike certainty shining like a beacon. "He always does. Daddy's the best pilot ever." Those words pierced Gregory like shards of glass, slicing through his ego. In the cockpit, Ethan's hands danced across the instruments with mesmerizing precision, every motion a calculated symphony. The captain muttered, "She's too heavy, we'll never make it." "We will," Ethan snapped, jaw set like granite. "Trust me, I've landed worse with enemy fire chewing at my tail. This is just another Tuesday afternoon." The captain stared, awe breaking through his fear. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, he exhaled, a sliver of hope igniting. The altimeter spun downward relentlessly, altitude bleeding away like sand through fingers. "Okay," Ethan murmured, half to himself, half to whatever guardian angels watched over aviators. "Come on, old girl. You and me, we're gonna dance this out." In first class, Gregory's facade shattered completely. He turned to the passenger beside him, voice quivering like a leaf in the wind. I mocked him. Called him pathetic. And now he's up there saving us all, and he trailed off, shame crashing over him in waves. The passenger didn't spare him a glance. "Maybe now you'll think twice before judging someone by their seat number." Gregory sank deeper into his leather throne, silence gnawing at his soul like a relentless predator. For once, his fortune, his status, his impeccable suit, none of it held power. The only force that mattered was the single dad he tried to crush with words. The cabin lurched again, passengers crying out in unison, a chorus of dread. A woman prayed aloud, her voice trembling yet fervent, a baby wailed, piercing the air, but cutting through it all came Ethan's voice over the PA, steady as a heartbeat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ethan Walker. I flew fighters for the United States Air Force. We've got a serious issue up here, but I need you to do one thing for me: breathe. Stay calm. I promise you, I'll get us down safely. Gasps morphed into sighs of relief, disbelief mingling with budding hope. Lily's face lit up with pride, her tiny fists pumping the air. Gregory's eyes squeezed shut, tears tracing hot paths down his cheeks. Alarms blared in the cockpit, a shrieking symphony that once triggered adrenaline-fueled survival in Ethan's veins. His hands clamped the yoke, muscles straining against the jet's defiant roll, as if an invisible giant sought to hurl them into the endless ocean below. "Ease her nose up," he barked. "Counter with rudder trim, slow and steady. Don't fight the beast, guide it." The co-pilot mirrored his actions, and miraculously, the plane responded, not flawlessly, but enough to claw back a fighting chance. Minutes dragged like hours in molasses, sweat cascading down Ethan's temples, stinging his unblinking eyes. His knuckles throbbed from the vice-like grip on the yoke. The captain whispered, awestruck, "How are you this calm?" Ethan's jaw tightened, memories flickering like old film reels, trace-arounds lighting up desert nights, radio static echoing a comrade's final screams. His voice cracked just a fraction. "Because I know what panic costs. And I promised my daughter I'd come back, every time." Those words lingered, raw and resonant, amid the mechanical roar. In the cabin, Gregory couldn't tear his eyes from Lily, who hugged her rabbit tightly, whispering prayers no child should utter so young. He realized, with a chest-taking epiphany, that he'd built empires of glass, money, power, prestige, while sneering at men like Ethan, who bore the invisible weight of true sacrifice. Another jolt rocked the plane, lights flickered like dying stars, screams pierced the air. Gregory buried his face in his hands, the Titan reduced to a trembling mortal. But Ethan's voice returned, a lifeline in the storm: "Brace positions, everyone. We're going in for landing. You're safe with me." That unwavering confidence, it wasn't just skill, it was the essence of a man who'd stared down death and chosen life every time. The runway shimmered ahead, a mirage of safety distorted by heat waves. Ethan's body was a coiled spring, every nerve alight, heart hammering like war drums. "Gear down," he ordered, voice taut as a bowstring. The co-pilot's shaky hand complied, a groan echoing as the landing gear locked. "Flaps to 20, Ethan added, engines straining against gravity's pull." The ground rushed up, hungry and unforgiving. Ethan gritted his teeth, whispering fiercely, "Not today, you don't." Wheels slammed the tarmac with a bone-jarring screech, the cabin rattled as if unraveling. Passengers screamed, but Ethan wrestled the yoke, muscles ablaze, guiding the beast to a halt. Brakes howled, smoke billowing from tires, and then, blessed silence. The plane shuddered to a stop, intact. Alive. Sobs, laughter, and prayers erupted in the cabin, strangers embracing like long-lost family, tears flowing freely. Gregory stumbled to his feet, suit sweat-soaked, face ghostly pale. Ethan emerged from the cockpit, shirt clinging, hands quaking from the adrenaline crash. Lily launched into his arms, her tears soaking his collar. "I told you I'd be right back," he whispered, voice breaking with relief. Applause thundered, shaking the cabin more than any turbulence. Passengers surged forward, hands extended in gratitude, blessings pouring out. But Ethan only had eyes for the little arms around his neck. Gregory approached, red-eyed and humbled, voice cracking. "Mr. Walker, I owe you my life, and my deepest apology. I mocked you, belittled you." Words failed, but tears spoke. Ethan met his gaze, weary yet steady. "Maybe next time, think before you look down on someone. You never know the battles they've fought." Gregory nodded, shame etching his features. For the first time, he bowed to a man without title or fortune, only unyielding courage. The tarmac buzzed with emergency lights as doors swung open. Crews braced for tragedy but found survivors stepping onto solid ground, whispering Ethan's name like a sacred incantation. He carried Lily, Her fingers tangled in his collar, cheek against his chest. "Daddy, you're my hero," she murmured. His lips trembled against her hair. "No, sweetheart, you're mine. You're why I stay steady." Ethan slipped away from the spotlight, shoulders heavy with memories of fallen comrades. To him, this was no glory, it was a kept promise. Gregory descended the stairs, shoes scuffed, jacket torn, less tighten, more humbled man. Watching Ethan, something inside him fractured open, not in pain, but awakening. "Mr. Walker," he called. Ethan paused, turning with guarded eyes. "Thank you, for my life, for everyone's." Ethan studied him. "You don't need thanks. Just remember, you never know who you're sitting next to. Kindness costs nothing, arrogance could cost everything." Gregory's face burned, but Ethan had already turned, hand in Lily's, heading toward normalcy. Reporters swarmed the terminal, microphones thrusting. Air Force veteran. Hydraulic failure miracle. Ethan shielded Lily, firm, no statements. "Just want to get my girl home." The buzz shifted to respect, cameras capturing quiet heroism. Gregory lingered, his empire feeling hollow against this father's quiet strength. "Ethan, please, let me help. Anything." Ethan shook his head. "I don't need charity. What I need is for folks like you to see worth beyond price tags." Gregory winced. "You're right. All my life, I judged by suits and seats. You showed me real worth." Days later, headlines blared, "SingleDad saves doomed flight." Passengers hailed him a legend, but Ethan shunned fame, embracing routines, school lunches, stories, fixes in his cozy apartment. Heroism, to him, was promises kept. Gregory couldn't forget Ethan's steady hands, Lily's faith, it haunted him toward change. One evening, he appeared at Ethan's door, envelope in hand. "Not money," Gregory said. "A job, head of safety. Your skills, leadership, we need it. I need reminders of what matters." Ethan frowned. "Why me?" Gregory's eyes softened. "Because I trust the man who saved hundreds under pressure." Ethan glanced at Lily playing. Thoughts of struggles, bills, invisibility, swirled. "I'll consider it. But my daughter first, always." Gregory smiled. "That's why I want you." Weeks later, Ethan entered the skyscraper, Lily's hand in his. Whispers followed, but he walked as a father, grounded. In the boardroom, Gregory introduced, "This man taught me leadership is courage, sacrifice, fighting for what's precious." Applause rang, but Ethan's gaze fixed on Lily waving. Victory wasn't applause, it was turning mockery to alliance, judgment to gratitude. The single dad who refused to break silenced cruel words forever, proving true strength soars beyond 30,000 feet.